violence, and yet anybody that knows me recognise that was me on the early hours of that morning. And I'm so sincerely sorry to Mr. Fellows, his family, my own family, constituents, parliamentarians. I live that moment. It's like a living nightmare every day of my life, but I'm the one that got things wrong. So I own it.
It was 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
Were you drunk?
On a rare occasion, going out at, I think, 2:10 in the morning, I went to get a taxi, like I suppose lots of people up and down the country. I can't count on, my one hand how many times I've been out at that time in the morning. It's a tough time in Parliament, probably since we've been in government, actually, all the difficult decisions that ministers will refer to. Of course, we're frontline in regards to that. It was a spontaneous thing. I'm not usually out at that time in the morning. I'm a human being, of course, like everybody else. That was my private time. I mean, you're always an MP, but you're not necessarily on duty at 2:10 in the morning. Mr. Fellows had a number of issues that he was vexed about, and he initially shouted me over, and I went to placate him, and fortunately the rest is history. I should have walked away, but I didn't. I mean, you referred to me being drunk. I probably had 6, maybe 7 pints. That's a lot for me these days. You referred to my age, 55-year-old bloke, an empty stomach. I think I remember I'd just had soup at lunchtime that day. Fridays is a really busy day, as you will know, for members of Parliament. I got so many things wrong that night and the small hours. I'm never usually by myself at a taxi rank. There's particular reasons for that. I've had a stalker who even turned up to my plea hearing, who was prosecuted and dealt with by the police. Couldn't fault the police. In fact, I can't fault the police in this incident as well, where I'm the perpetrator. They've done a professional job. And yes, but the stalker even turned up at my plea hearing when I was due to go and make my plea of guilty. And, so it's tough. You always feel quite anxious. And I'll never forgive myself for so many things that night and small hours, really.
So I wanted to ask you, and if you had a problem with alcohol, but it doesn't sound like you're normally a heavy drinker. Is that fair?
Yeah, it's fair. If you to do on average, I remember the probation service talking to me about this big pre-sentence. It's around 14 units.
14?
14 units.
Gosh, I don't know anyone who's within the NHS recommendations. But so you're not a drinker?
No, just for that. But that particular night, I'd obviously, let's say, every now and again binge drinking.
Yes.
So an issue in regards to that. I do have, as part of my sentence, an alcohol tag. So that's
got to wear an alcohol tag.
Yes, on my ankle. That's all the time, and I think it measures your sweat. So in terms of so zero alcohol.
How long do you have to wear that?
I think it's 120 days with the tag, but it's a year with monitoring.
Right.
Yes.
So what happened that night is alcohol was a contributing factor, but it doesn't sound like you have a problem with alcohol. Do you have a problem with managing your anger?
Look, if you were to ask people that I know, friends, family, staff, I'd say I'm usually quite calm and measured. Other parliamentarians, right across the piece. But clearly that night, yes, I look at what I've done and I don't recognise myself. I'm uncomfortable with it. My reaction to Mr. Fellows. So as part of my sentencing, it refers to anger management there. I think it's 20 hours. I've been having some support already through a psychiatrist.
Right.
For the last 4 months.
4 months, so how often have you been talking to a psychiatrist?
Well, psychiatrist and counsellor probably every week.
Every week?
Every week with a counsellor, psychiatrist probably every 3 weeks.
Right.
Yes.
And what have you, because I noticed actually when I was preparing for this interview that in 2014, before you were an MP, you were a local councillor.
Yes.
And you wrote a piece, an article in the Manchester Evening News.
I did.
Revealing that you then was suffering and had been suffering with clinical depression.
Yes.
You said that you collapsed on the floor and that was the trigger you needed to go and see your GP.
Yes.
And ask for help. Do you have long-standing mental health problems?
I do. I got on the right side of my mental health. It took me a period of around 4 years. So from 2014, I was on medication. I did receive counselling, CBT, so cognitive behaviour therapy. And I was the right side of that. I would say up until, there's a number of triggers really, but probably maybe March of last year, so maybe a year ago, I should have dealt with a number of issues I was facing, whether it be depression and anxiety, and now I'm. So I'm on medication again, and clearly I'm receiving support. I'm a person of a bloke of a particular background. I'm from a quite humble background, working class background, and it's far too difficult. Just probably the way we're programmed and brought up our environments to go public about that. So in 2014, I thought that was really important. I will continue to do that, continue to be an advocate. There are far too many. It's not, the stigma isn't as strong as it was,
Yeah.
but there's still far too many men in particular that do suffer in silence, and it does have consequences. It does have consequences.
So you're on medication. You're back on medication now, and that's helping you at the moment.
Yeah,
I mean, talking.
You know, the last, it's been 5 months now since you know the incident that I own.
Yeah.
But it's the medication has certainly given me a bit of a lift just to try and get by. You know, I've been doing a job in the last 5 months of still representing my constituents and with the team and working hard. So I've had those responsibilities. I have a strong work ethic. I actually love work, but work with a purpose. Being a member of Parliament to me was it was a dream vacation, and it's more than a job. You know, I put my heart and soul into it, particularly my constituents.
So on the 27th of February, you are given a 10-week prison sentence.
Yes.
Taken straight to a Liverpool prison.
Yeah.
Now, I'll come on to the fact that you didn't serve that whole sentence in a second. What is it like arriving in prison? Are people hostile? You're a member of Parliament. Perhaps they've seen it on the news.
Yeah.
What sort of environment did you go into?
You know, actually, the original judge giving the sentence, and, you know, take Mr. Amesbury downstairs, or I was in, my personal belongings were removed from me. I was in a cell, I think it was just over 6.5 hours, while they probably found me a bed somewhere.
Right.
Well documented how full the prisons are. I didn't even have the opportunity to phone close friends and family, so I have the opportunity to phone my wife. I suppose the difference being is people could see it all over the TV, so it's quite unique in that sense of going immediately into custody. My car was still on a council pay and display car park,
Right.
Because my legal team advised I wouldn't.
No expectation of being sent down that day.
No, so I was in a state of shock. I was just numb. Was taken in eventually in a prison van, for want of a couple of words. You know, still in a state of shock, and then signed how much paperwork, and it's like this, I say a dream, but kind of a nightmare. I was probably briefing the smartest dressed prisoner in the place, because this is all I had on, was similar attire to what I've got on now. And then I was given a prison uniform, some form of a box breakfast. I remember being given that, just not really being hungry. And I was taken along to the induction wing. So, people would use their imagination, but obviously very secure, and metal gates fold closing behind you, being escorted by prison officers, and then put into a cell with 2 inmates who were serving fairly lengthy sentences.
A cell with 3 people in it.
Yes.
I mean, is that a small room, a big room?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're thinking what you might call a box room in a house.
Right. Gosh. Yeah. I know.
Then, but
3 of you
with bunk beds and yes, but I'll be honest with you, those 2 inmates were a godsend.
Wow.
They were very helpful. I was, like I say, very anxious.
Yeah.
The 3 nights I served in prison and 4 days, but 3 nights I didn't sleep at all.
Right.
It was a traumatic experience.
Now, Micah, I have to put this to you.
Yes.
You'll have heard this before. It was reported. It was on social media. Because after 3 nights behind bars, a judge agreed to suspend your jail term for 2 years. So there are many people who are watching who think, well, he did the crime, but he didn't serve his time. He was let off too lightly. What would you say to people who say that?
Yes. Well, of course, I was out on appeal. So, and a judge, the judiciary is independent of politicians.
Yeah.
And he made that informed decision. But in regards to punishment, I've served 3 nights and 4 days. My sentence continues. So it's 2 years suspended. I have 200 hours community centres, and rightfully so. In the way, these are my punishments.
What are you doing for that? So you've got 200 hours of community service. What do you do? Is that a weekly thing?
Weekly thing. So, for example, I'm not going to say where it is.
Of course.
But I, was rubbing down some railings and fences in a canal. The side of a canal, and I will be painting it with other people that are doing community payback, and rightfully so. I embrace that, and that will be, it's probably take me a year to do those hours. Plus, I do some online courses. I obviously refer to the anger management, so one-to-one, so further work there. I've obviously been fined as well, and rightfully so. And the consequences go beyond the judiciary, but as a result of the sentence, a suspended sentence, I'm losing my livelihood.
Yeah.
My income. There's no severance, nothing.
No. You don't know where your next paycheck is coming from?
No. After today, no.
You sold your home, you can pay the mortgage?
No, can't. So that's going on the market. So, it's, and obviously that affects on my family there. So I'm paying a price for what I've done. And didn't want to lose the family home, but no choice. As a consequence of what I did. Yes.
How you're married?
Yes.
With a son. I don't want you to tell me anything about them, because this is their that they will have suffered, and that's their story.
It is, yes.
I think it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, it's been difficult for my wife and son because of what I did, and you know, it's obviously put a sway on things.
What do you say to your wife and son? What do you want to say to your, or what do you say to your wife and son?
I say sorry. You know, my son, I've gone from hero probably to zero. I've altered things from my family, and a few moments of absolute madness. And I'm sorry to, again, I said it publicly and I'll say it over and over again to Mr. Fellows, who's the victim here, and his family.
I want to ask you something about male violence.
Yes.
So what we saw in that video, there are probably versions of that event going on in our towns and cities with men, largely.
Yeah.
Perhaps every weekend.
Yes.
What do we do about this thing that we call male violence?
Yes.
Do you have any insights into that? Can you help to stop people losing everything like you have?
Well, I hope this serves as an example. You know, 55 years, I've not had any trouble with the police, wrong side of the law. And here I am. I've gone from, you know, as a shadow minister in various portfolios. I hoped I was going to be a minister, but that didn't happen. I've gone from just a few months ago being